In October of 2011, an Italian hiker was trekking through the woods near his home in the northern region of Friuli Venezia Giulia. His name was Renzo Conterno, and he had been hiking for several hours. But this particular hike was not like any other, and as he trekked deeper into the wilderness, he began to notice something strange. There were no birds singing or squirrels scampering up trees, and when he rounded a bend in the path, what he saw made him stop dead in his tracks. There in front of him sat an entire village, but it was completely deserted. Nobody was outside tending to their gardens or hanging out their washing or even driving around in their cars. The village seemed eerily silent. As he walked further into the town, he noticed that all of the homes were locked up tight. Their doors were bolted and their windows were shuttered up. It looked like everyone in the town had just picked up and left all at once, but there was no exodus of cars clogging up the roads leading out of the village. As he walked down the main street, he came across a cafe and pushed open the door. Inside he found cups of abandoned coffee, half-eaten meals on the tables, and newspapers from that very day lying on the floor. It was as if the people who had been here had vanished into thin air. He continued his walk down the road and soon came across a school. He looked through the window and saw desks and chairs neatly lined up, books lying open on the tables and papers strewn across the floor. It was obvious that the school had been used just recently. Yet, where were the kids? And more importantly, where were their parents? After checking out the rest of the village and finding nothing else out of the ordinary, Conterno called the local police to report his findings. What he had stumbled upon was the Italian ghost town of San Giovanni in Maricanano, which is now known as the Silent Village. The first thing the police did was check the National Missing Persons database to see if anyone from the village was listed as missing, but nobody was. They then went door to door, trying every key they had until they eventually got inside one of the houses. Here they found some clues as to what may have happened. There was a pile of letters on the kitchen table addressed to the family living there. The most recent postmark was from late September, only a few weeks before the discovery of the village, and each letter contained similar messages of congratulations on winning a prize and instructions to contact a certain number. But why would everyone in the village receive the same letter? Was it a mass chain letter? Not only that, but the phone number provided in the letter was disconnected. Concerned about what might be happening here, the police decided to search the house. This is when they discovered something terrifying. In one of the bedrooms, they found a gas cylinder and a hose with a nozzle attached to it, and it was long before they realized that the hose was connected to the water pipes in the house. It soon became clear that whoever had sent those letters had effectively poisoned the family by turning their own water supply into a deadly carbon monoxide generator. The police searched the rest of the village and found the same thing at every house. Someone had turned their water supply into a deadly carbon monoxide generator. But how could this be? Who would do such a thing? And more importantly, where were all the villagers? It wasn't long before investigators learned that many of the residents of Silent Village had complained about receiving spam calls from the same number printed on the letters. It seems whoever was behind this evil plot had used the names of the villagers to acquire their phone numbers and then cold called them, pretending to be representatives from banks or government agencies. Most of the time these scammers tried to trick people into giving them money or personal details, but in this case, it was something far more sinister. In fact, during the investigation, the police found evidence that some villagers had actually followed the instructions on the letters and called the number, only to find that it had already been disconnected. With no way of knowing who was behind the plot, the residents of Silent Village decided that it was best to err on the side of caution, and that's when things took a truly bizarre turn. In the days following the discovery of the village, the bodies of 49 people were found in the area. 38 of them were found in the village itself, while the others were located in nearby farmhouses. But here's the thing, none of the bodies showed any signs of trauma or foul play. At first, investigators thought that maybe the killer had used a poison that didn't show up in autopsies. But the toxicology reports later proved negative. What had happened was that after receiving the letter, the terrified residents had decided to leave the village in order to collect their prize. But when they arrived at the designated location, they had been met with a horrific scene. An unknown number of men dressed in dark clothing were standing around a large truck with a red cross painted on the side. The people from the village were instructed to board the truck, but once they got inside, they were never seen again. To make matters even more confusing, the truck was registered to a fictional character named Francesco Jossi. So who was really behind the sinister plot? We may never know for sure. Some believe that the killer was someone from the village. Perhaps a disgruntled local who had used his knowledge of the area to lure the unsuspecting townspeople to their deaths. Others think that it was the work of a foreign cult who had come to steal the organs of the villagers. But perhaps the most disturbing theory is that the killer was actually one of the villagers themselves. After all, it was them who had received the letters and had knowingly boarded the truck, willingly giving up their lives. Of course, we don't know that for sure because the truck was never found, nor were the remains of the presumed victims. That's why conspiracy theorists claim that the entire thing was staged by the government, as part of a population control experiment. That being said, the last person to call the mysterious number printed on the letters was the mayor of Silent Village. But when the police searched his house, they found something that made them change their minds about him being the perpetrator. He had been poisoned. The investigators had assumed that he was the mastermind behind the killings, but if he was, why would he kill himself? And if he wasn't, why was he the last person to call the number? To this day, the fate of the villagers remains a mystery. Did they willingly give up their lives, or were they abducted against their will? We may never know the truth, but what we do know is that Silent Village is still there. Only now it serves as a chilling reminder of the horrors that unfolded within its streets. If you ever find yourself hiking in the woods near Friuli, Venezia, Giulia, keep an eye out for a small village without a sound. Just remember to stay away, because deep down we all have that little voice in the back of our head telling us that whatever happens, we should never, ever board a truck with a red cross on it. Now watch. Mass hysteria swept this country like wildfire. Or check out 10 scary urban legends from around the world.